Okay, I think to respect those that have joined, is it okay to kick off, Doctor
Yes, yes,
Musa?
it is. It is.
Okay, so let's start, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are from the world. You're welcome to the first edition of Visual Talk, organized by People, Expertise, and Excellence Foundation. Um, this is a foundation that is basically dominated by very experienced Nigerians that are passionate about the country and finding ways to give back to their country. And hopefully, you'll hear more about the foundation when our board chairman is on. Um, so, like I said, this is the first edition for 2025. Last year, we had about 5 virtual talks, which were well appreciated. So please watch out for this space. There's more coming in the course of the year. So let me start by quickly introduce myself. My name is Ismail Usman. I'm an oil and gas professional. I've more than 20 years experience with Shell International. My last role was as a chief reservoir engineer in Brunei Shell Petroleum, and I'm currently in Shell US, based in Houston, working on deep water operations. Um, Today's talk will be delivered by someone that I think most of us know, someone that I know personally, a mentor, who I will be able to give a bit more details about him later on after the bullshit talk. But the topic for today will be petroleum resource life cycle and project development process, to be given by petroleum engineer Mashood Yusuf. But like I said, I will come back to give a bit more detail about him later on. For now, let's just do a quick safety. Please, wherever you are, make sure you're comfortable. No hazards. Listen to your fire drills and any drill. Make sure that you are not exhausted. If you're driving, please don't join this call. Find a convenient place to park and join without any distractions. Be mindful of your equipment as well. So make sure you use the right kind of equipment to join into this session. The ground rules, essentially, like I said, please remain muted as much as you can. Appreciate if you can go off video as well, so that we have good connectivity. And then last but not the least, essentially Q&A questions are going to come up. So please put in your questions in the Q&A chat box. We'll also be able to invite few people to also come on mute, show their videos, and ask a few questions as we go along.
Hello, Chairman.
So I think we're just about to invite the chairman of the foundation, someone also that I know very well, a father figure, a mentor, my senior colleague in Shell, Alhaji Abdullahi Bukar, Sarkin Kudu of the Emirates. If you're around, you're welcome, sir. If you're around, please unmute and give chairman opening remark, please.
Okay, Engineer Ismail, moderator.
Yes, please.
The chairman BOT is on the phone. He has network problem, but he's on the phone and he's going to
Okay.
speak now. Honorable Chairman, sir, you are on.
You're on, sir. I hope you can hear us.
I can hear you. Thank you very much. I hope Musa can put on the slide I had sent earlier when the network was working. I would like to welcome everybody to this event. It is something we have looked forward to for a long time. So Happy New Year to you all, and good afternoon to those who are in my time zone, and good day to all those who are either having breakfast or going to bed, depending on where you are in the world. I'd like to thank you for joining and coming to join our eventful agenda. I'm sure the Honorable Secretary will talk to you later about all the plans we have for this year and for the 2 coming years after it, and to show that slowly the PEEF is getting recognition from society and is being asked to participate in doing the things that we have so laboriously tried in the last few years to try to project, that there is sufficient reservoir of knowledge in country to try to do a lot of things that we need to get better quality life for all our citizens. And nothing is more apt than what we have selected today, because everybody knows how crucial the oil and gas industry is to the Nigerian economy and to the national survival, to put it bluntly. So therefore, today's topic is apt in that the current government is keen to increase oil production by about 1 million barrels in the next 18 months, which is not a very small order, but it needs to be done well. And never mind new laws, new divestments, the way you develop oil is still the same. The way you develop gas is also still the same. You may have different techniques, but there are different techniques of doing the same. But the most important thing is how you manage it to successfully and efficiently bring in a way to enjoy those resources to the best advantage for the country. And that, I believe, is what we'll be discussing today. Alhaji Mashood Yusuf, who is the speaker, will take on the session, chaired by Alhaji Ismail, and I'm sure we'll all enjoy what they're going to give us. It is important to point out that these issues, never mind what has been going on, have been things that have been with us all along. But we need to look at them with fresh eyes and make sure we do it well. As the saying goes, if you plan to fail, you don't plan. But if you want to succeed, you must plan and follow your plan. So I'd like to say thank you very much and hand you back to the Honorable Secretary and to the chairman of this talk so that we can get started, because we have got a very crowded agenda for today. So once more, I welcome you to this event and welcome you to the rest of the program we have for the rest of this year, which I hope you will join as we move on and address new topics. So over to you, Honorable Chairman and Honorable Secretary. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Honorable Chairman, Board of Trustees, PEEF. Now, over to you, the moderator.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think the chairman's message is summary is very clear. He has given us a marching order. He has made it very clear in his speech how important the oil and gas resource are to our country, Nigeria. He made mention of the country having immense talent to be able to do justice and deliver this to the world standards. What he also said was that it's all in our hands to come out and support our dear country in whatever capacity we can. And I think setting up this foundation is essentially moving towards that particular path. So thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We really appreciated you giving us that marching order. So let's move on without any further ado. I'm aware that we may be battling with time. I'm just going to share a bio of the guest speaker. So I hope people can see my slide. Can somebody just confirm, please?
Yes, I can see yours.
Yes, it's there.
Okay, so thank you very much. So ladies and gentlemen, we're getting into it. It's my pleasure, like I said, to introduce someone I know personally, someone that has also played a part in my career profile, Engineer Mashood Yusuf. He is basically a veteran. His career in Shell Group as a trainee petroleum engineer started many long times ago, probably more than 30 years ago. And and he has progressed in a very diverse array of roles in petroleum engineering and field operations. His journey includes postings to outside Nigeria, particularly Netherlands, where he worked in a study team and honed his skills in project management and technical evaluation analysis. He has over, there you go, he has over 44 decades of industry experience and with Shell Petroleum Development Company and a national oil company in Angola, Senegal. So you can also see that in addition to a local company, SPDC, he has a good experience in another national company in a different country. Angola, the Senegal operates the Angola joint ventures, as you all know. In his tenure in SPDC, he was also supply service manager for 5 years, overseeing critical supply chain operations. Later in Shell, he became the integrated field development manager, and he was responsible for supervising integrated subsurface study, ISST, and ensuring successful delivery of concept selections and field development planning in alignment with company opportunity realization process. He retired from SPDC in January 2005. After his retirement, he wasn't tired. He proceeded to take many roles, specifically as a consultant and a technical advisor on petroleum engineering studies at Sonangol in Angola. In that capacity, he managed and coordinated several multidisciplinary subsurface studies and led technical auditing efforts, focusing on quality assurance and quality control for several studies. Engineer Mashood is a life member of Society of Petroleum Engineer, and he remains very to stay updated with the latest development in the petroleum industry. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
If you don't mind, I would like to invite you to share your slides, and then the floor is yours.
Thank you, Smaila Usman. God bless you. Sorry, I'm trying to open up my...
Yeah, I think we can see your slide.
Yeah, but I want to make it full screen. I'm just trying to get, okay. That's it. I am on, but let me see how I can get rid of all these attendants here. All right. Thank you, Usman. And let me say welcome to the registrants, those who registered for this PVT today. You're most welcome. This is the first one in the year 2025. So as already said, my presentation will be petroleum resource life cycle and project development process. The order of presentation will be background. In the background, I will try to highlight some of the history of petroleum industry in Nigeria. Then I'll move on to the critical oil and gas contracts, value creation, project development process, petroleum resource life cycle, which is one of the principal presentations of today, and then project development process. And of course, you can't produce without knowing what the production system is. Before I finish that, I will talk about gas projects that are also in the making in this country, and are also very important too. So the session is basically an awareness, knowledge sharing session. At the end of this session, the participants will be aware of how petroleum is discovered, developed, and produced. The process will clarify why it is not easy for anybody to decree or demand high production levels without following the due processes. And like the BOT chairman said, the project development processes are universal for IOCs and most independents and also NOCs too. And these projects are usually managed by multidisciplinary teams that work together to explore, develop, and produce fields. The Nigerian experience has been that we started with Decree 969 because oil was discovered in 1956 in commercial quantity. And then it came into production during the military. So we started with the military with the decrees, which became Petroleum Act. And then we were organized using joint operating agreements, operations agreements, DPR, Department of Petroleum Resources, used to control that. So, but right now, as we will say, Nigeria has finally signed a PIA, Petroleum Industry Act, in 2021, which provides legal governance, regulatory, and fiscal framework for Nigerian petroleum industry. Of course, the Act also provided new structures and names for the business units and service units. The NNPC regulatory commissions, what we have now under the current situation is that we have NUPRC, which is Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission, which is basically formerly the Department of Petroleum Resources. And then we have the NMDPRA, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, which is responsible for the technical and commercial regulation of the midstream and downstream operations. Let me just say that while the upstream extracts oil and natural gas from the ground, the midstream moves them safely, and downstream provides fuel oils and finished products to the community. Under the NNPC, under the PIA, the business units are as follows. NAPIMS, the National Petroleum Investment Management Services, is now named NNPC Upstream Investment Services, NUIS. NPDC, the Nigerian Petroleum Development Company, has been restructured and renamed NNPC Exploration and Production Limited, NEPL, basically focusing on exploration, production of hydrocarbon resources, crude, condensate, and gas. IDSL, the Integrated Data Services, NNPC Office Services Limited, have now all been merged into NNPC Energy Services Limited under the new nomenclature NNPC NServ. NETCO remains the same. The name has not changed, but the National Engineering and Technical Company is now full-fledged engineering, procurement, and construction EPC company under the brand name NNPC Engineering and Technical Company, NETCO. Nigeria is a populous country, and the highlights are there. What I can say is that if you look at item 2, it says United Nations, Nigeria will be the third most populous country by the year 2050. And we pray that in the next 25 years, we'll be there to witness and celebrate this. The concession map in Nigeria is mainly onshore, which is the JV, joint venture, shallow offshore, which is Shell and others, and it's also a JV. And of course, we have the deep water, which is basically a production sharing contract or agreement. What are the most critical types of oil and gas contracts? Petroleum, which is known as black gold, was discovered in commercial quantity in 1956. It's about 70 years ago. And in May 1971, the NNOC, the Nigerian National Oil Company, was established by the military government to supervise oil extraction and provide guidelines to the multinationals that carried out petroleum operations. In 1979, the government merged and restructured NNOC and the Ministry of Petroleum to form the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, an entity which will exert more power over the allocation and sale of concessions than NNOC. By 1979, that year, NNPC had gained 60% participation in the oil industry in all IOCs. Let me also remind us that in 1973, OPEC came up and made sure that the oil-producing exporting countries will own major shares in their operations. Coming to the agreements and a type of something. Number 2, production sharing agreements or contracts, PSAs and PSCs, are operated in Nigeria, and joint ventures also feature multinational. So these two are the ones that are active in practiced in Nigeria. Production sharing agreements and production sharing contracts, PSC. The key components are typically include contract period, duration of the contract, management of operations, cost recovery, and profit division, sharing of profits. Cost recovery mechanism. The cost recovery mechanism is a fundamental component of PSAs and PSCs. And this is a way for the contractor IOC to recoup its investment. So they pay royalty to the government, allocate cost oil to pay for their operations and expenses, and use cost stop. The government used cost stop in the study to limit how much money in one particular year the IOC can recover. The cost oil is defined as the cost oil is the oil retained by the IOC to recover the cost of exploration, development, and production. The costs that is not recovered are usually carried forward by the agreement. The profit oil is defined as the share of the production remaining after royalty is being paid and cost oil has been retained by the contractor. Basically, the government share is only in PSAs and PSCs is only based on the profit oil that is shared. The government does not own everything produced by PSA or PSCs, but the profit oil is shared by the investors. That bit is about the PSAs and PSCs. Now, we also practice JOAs, joint ventures in Nigeria. upstream oil and gas operations around the world almost inevitably involve a vertical relationship between the state and the upstream, and the operators. And this usually involves the state granting petroleum company the right to explore, exploit, appraise, produce petroleum by way of license. Expenditure is shared as per equity. In Nigeria, the government had a share of 60% in most of the, except Shell, where they had 55%. There are now 5 major players in Nigerian upstream sector, and these control about 58% of the crude oil production in Nigeria. There are also 12 JV joint ventures with domestically owned oil companies. And these companies participate in the oil industry in joint ventures with NNPC as operator or contractor in the Nigerian onshore and shallow waters. So these are the joint ventures in the multinational, with multinational. We have the Shell Petroleum Development Company, where the government owns 55%. We have the Exxon Mobil Producing Nigeria Limited. The government owns 60% of the joint venture. We have Chevron Petroleum Company of Nigeria. It's a joint venture also, and the government owns again 60%. We have Total Energy Nigeria. Government owns 60%. So its government share is 60% in JVs, except in Shell, where the share is 55%. These are the 12 joint ventures with smaller domestically owned companies. These are there are 12 of them. First Hydrocarbon, there are First E&P, Seplat, Ayeto. These are the 12 of them that have joint venture operations with NNPC. We also have independent crude oil producing companies, and some of them are just sole risk, like corn oil, sole risk. We have AMNI Petroleum, also sole risk, and they produce at Okoro. We have Sapetro, all right, and Sapetro takes 15% of the Apo and Ingena OML30 production. And we also finally have Oando Resources, all right, energy resources, and they have so many interests in Nigeria. Now, if you look at the concession versus PSC main differences, ownership of JV is by, JV is owned by, the asset is owned by the, jointly owned by the, by proportion of share and working interest for the JV. In PSC, production sharing contract, the titles to assets and everything belongs to NNPC. When it comes to funding, funding is provided in proportion to the working interest in JOA. In PSC, funding is provided by IOC, no cash call to NNPC. If it is successful, very good, the guy can recover his money. If it's not successful, well, it's a loss to the IOC. Profit sharing is shared under JOA is shared in proportion to the working interest. In PSC, profit is shared only as stipulated by the something, and only the profit oil is shared as stipulated in the contract. Of course, you have taxes that are paid in both JOA and PSC. So in terms of revenue distribution, the cash to government It's basically loyalty, 15% for for joint venture, all right, which varies from 0 to 5%, subject to price of oil. And the cost recovery, and the red one goes to the IOC, right? Recover depreciation, appreciation, contract, capital cost over 5. And for the PSC, it's virtually the same thing, but cost oil is recovered is used to recover by the IOC. Like like we are introduced, the decline in the production, the production rate has been, has been a lot of decline because there has been no much activity in upstream to get oil out, to find and to discover, to explore, discover, and develop and produce oil. But right now, the government is talking about raising the production to 2.8 or more than that, or higher than that. But I have not seen any concrete plan. I'm not seeing a forward-looking plan to present. What I'm presenting is what I had before from sources Wood Mackenzie and OPTS. When their revised production profile is issued, this will be updated. Now, how is value created? How does the barrel split? This is for the JV under PIA. The JV, the share is at barrel at 50%, $50, $75, $100 price as shown in the presentation. And I believe that this will be shared with you after this session. So you can go through the details when you receive your copy of the package. The same thing applies to production sharing contracts, and mainly deep offshore production. So that's where we have most of the production sharing contract or agreements, deep offshore. I now move on to the presentation on petroleum resource life cycle. As it is, you explore, you appraise to see how wide or how big is your discovery, and whether it's commercial or sub-commercial. And then you develop the field, you produce until you have exhausted your reserves, and then finally you abandon. So what we have is, we have exploration, you discover, you delineate, you find out how big is your discovery. You develop that if it's commercial discovery. Then you now go on to primary production, which basically involves what is naturally on the ground there. While it is declining, when you have production decline, you go on to secondary production, and later on to tertiary production. And once you finish exhausting everything, it is time to abandon the field. So basically, this is reservoir development life cycle. Pre-production, you explore, you appraise, and you delineate. Phase 2, once you have a commercial discovery, you do the reservoir development, drilling wells, installing facilities to handle your production, and of course, exporting your production. And stage 3, once you finish developing the field, at the initial you have reservoir management, where you can have a plateau production. That you have a steady production for years before the field start declining. So this is where you manage your facility and maximize your recovery. So you have production operations and you have primary recovery. That is before the decline starts. And once the decline starts, you now go on to enhance recovery and secondary recovery or tertiary recovery. And once you finish this, the final thing is decommissioning and abandonment of the field. In every sphere of life, there are uncertainties. And this is how the uncertainty is managed in the petroleum industry. In a scenario, they call it the lowest estimate we are sure of that is there is called proved reserves, and it's called 1P. Under probabilistic approach, it is called P90%. Other scenario is just low estimate. Then that is for in terms of managing uncertainties. Second category is the best estimate, and that is called proved plus probable, and it's called 2P estimate. Under the probabilistic dispensation, it is called P50 estimate, and under this other scenario, it's called most likely. And in all planning, all the plannings and financial commitments are based on 2P, P50, or the most likely estimate. And the high estimate is called proved plus probable plus possible. It's called 3P estimate, and it's really high. That is the maximum you think estimate from the resources. And under probabilistic approach, it's called P10%. And under other scenario, it's called high estimate. So this is how uncertainty is managed in the oil industry. But most of the planning are based on best estimate, which is 2P or P50% and almost likely. The project status, categories, and commercial risk. If it is commercial, we have reserves. If it is sub-commercial, we have contingent resources. This is by SPE definition. If it's onshore or probably something, it's called prospective resources. And in terms of risks, at the bottom play, it is the highest risk that you are not sure what you get there. As you approach and move forward upstairs, once you get to develop, when you get to developed, develop the resources, you are sure that you have the lowest risk there. And for example, if it is on production, you are sure that you are always going to get your production from the field. But if it's a contingent, we are not sure. So in terms of high risk, is at the bottom here, and the lowest risk is at the top because you have already found the reserves, discovered the reserves. So this basically covers the hydrocarbon resource life cycle. You are aware of how you develop the field, you make a discovery, you appraise, you delineate, and you develop the field. And it is that time you can now say, I want to produce 1 million or 10 million based on what you have found. The second major presentation covers project development process. For those who are familiar with Shell processes, all these are shared from Shell experience. They are the ones that produce this for us. So having worked in Shell for about 29 years and having worked with this, I'm sharing it as knowledge sharing for everybody. So what Shell has done is that you have a process where you identify and assess something, and it's the first, we call it value assurance review. It's called project initiation. And then once you have found out that something there, you do a feasibility study. And you do a second value assurance review, and it's called VAR2. Once you've done that and you got the go ahead to proceed, you go on to the select phase. Basically, this is when you work and look at all the options to develop the field. And you come with a field development plan. And that is where you have VAR 3. Once you have VAR 3, you will now go on for define. That is when you have the facilities that are specified to produce the resources you have discovered. And it is at this stage, at VAR 4, that we have what is called FID, Final Investment Decision. And usually, by the time you're taking this decision, you have explored every options. And because the next thing to do will be to execute the project. And after that, you operate until abandonment. And of course, when you have finished operating, you now do, and when you finish the development, you do what is called VAR 5, which is post-investment review. What have we learned that we can carry forward in future? It's basically the same thing, but it says identify and assess. So we have project initiation, VAR 1. Once approval is given, you move on to feasibility study, and if report is produced, and that is VAR 2. After that, you go on to concept selection, and if it is done, if it's successful, you produce field development plan that will lead you or give you the development of your discoveries. At this stage, because I've already got the field development plan, you generate a basis for design for the engineers to work with, basis for design, and then of course project specification. By the time they finish this, once you get approval, now it is good to go. An FID, final investment decision, is taken. And the next thing is to go and execute the project. After that, you hand over to the asset team to operate. And of course, at the end, you have a post-investment review, which is VAR 5. So the questions that I usually ask at various stages during during VAR processes are this. Project initiation. Do we understand what we are starting? Are we aware? Are we conscious of what we are going into? Once you get that and you demonstrate that you are clear of what you are doing, you now move on from VAR 1 to VAR 2, phase 2. And that is when we do a feasibility study. The feasibility study is where you look at all full ranges of strategies and scenarios that can be identified, and you review them. And you produce a record called feasibility report. Once you've done that and you have a green light to go ahead, you go on to the concept selection phase. This is how you home on to the optimal alternative, which eventually leads to field development plan. Once you pass that stage and you are successful and you get the go ahead, you now have a project sanction. You go on to phase 3, phase 4, VAR 4, which is phase 4. You now go on, and if everything is in place, you now check if everything is in place for you to go ahead. And once that is ascertained, you are now ready to go. You have the funding already decided. So you don't give a final investment decision without funding options or availability. And then finally, you go on and do what is called a look back performance. What did we learn from all these processes? So the objective of the VAR process, the aim of the VAR assurance reviews is to provide assurance to management and shareholders that major projects have evaluated not only the economic outcomes of the alternatives, but have also considered the environmental, social, political impact of the options that are available. So once that is done, you can now, you're good to go with the project. So basically, as I will soon show you, the process, project development process goes through so many phases. At the beginning of opportunity identification, we'll have what we call the opportunity team. Opportunity team runs from here until it gets to select phase. And once you've scaled through all the way to select phase, you hand over something to the project team who will carry on with define and execute. That's when the project team takes over. And once project team is done and with execution, the asset is handed over to the asset team to operate and close out. So basically, in a typical project development process, no single discipline can take it from the beginning to the end. They will do their own relevant to their capability or discipline, hand over to the project team, who will do the define and execute, and finally hand over to the asset team, who will operate and close out the. So in terms of discipline, like I said earlier, the management of this process is an integrated team. We have the petroleum engineers that start all the process from identify, assess, select, define. And then once you come to define, it's a team. Everybody is an integrated team. Everybody is present. Is there. Well, engineering is there to make their own input at various stages. Engineering is also there to make their own input. So once it comes to define and execute, so the engineers now are the key drivers. The engineering, the key drivers. So, and once it comes to operation, is the asset team that drives it. So this is how the multidisciplinary team interplay in terms of project development. There's no single discipline that can run from identify and assess all the way to the stage of operating the system, operating the asset. So they will do their own, the opportunity team will do its own, hand over to the project team, will do their own and execute, and hand over to the asset team to run the business. So in terms of project process as phase focus, all right, when it comes to phase one, like I said, this is the time you determine the potential value of the opportunity and align it with the company strategy. This is called front loading. That is, you want to be sure that you are choosing the right project to be developed. And when you come to project realization, you are trying to maximize the outcome of the efforts you put in at the beginning. That is during phase one, phase two, phase three, and phase four. This is when you try to get the maximum out. So in select phase, you generate and select the preferred opportunity alternative. In the define phase, you finalize the scope, cost, schedule, and get project funded. This is the time you get the project, FID. You secure FID once you finish the phase 3. And let me highlight that at every stage there is a gate that you have through which you present what you have done, and you get the green light to go ahead and go to phase 2. When you finish phase 2, you go through the same gate. And if you succeed in doing the right thing, you get the green ahead or the go ahead green light to go on to phase 3. And this is when you have to take a final investment decision. And once that is taken, the next thing is to execute. You don't take a final investment decision without funding. And you can't take it years ahead of doing the execution, because no investor will put his money in anything and wait for many years to reap the benefit of his investment. So by the time you are taking a final investment decision, you are making sure that everything has been done and that the project is ready to proceed to the next stage. And like I said, at every gate that I highlighted earlier, there are questions that must be answered. Gate decision. There is what they call the decision support package, which you present to management and explain what you have done. And then you have the assurance review report that says, yes, everything has been done according to the process. And once you are there, the questions that are, the decisions that are taken at the gate is proceed if the project has met all the approval criteria. Or you rework if more work is required to support the recommendation or the way forward. You can also say hold. At the gate, you can say hold. Put on hold. That's the project is attractive, but not immediately. So you can put it on hold. If the project needs to be changed, all right, the project can be made more attractive by changing the projected, the project frame. You can say, go ahead and change it at that gate. That's when the decision is taken. But if the project is not attractive, is found not attractive, a decision sadly is taken to kill it at that time. So at every stage, you go through this process. So you don't wait until it is time to operate and to find out that you have not developed a good project, right? So at every gate, you have the opportunity to proceed, to rework, to put on hold, to change, or to kill the project so that you don't waste more money and people's time. And the members are usually those who are very conversant with the project and they understand the strategic need of that project. So all the members are people who are knowledgeable, competent enough, can ask questions to stop or continue with the. And then the actions, they review the decision support package and key deliverables. If they verify, if they satisfy everything, if they don't satisfy, this is the stage you now take decision to say proceed, rework, hold, change, or this is actions you take at this gate. And the criteria is that you have to have quality of DSP, that is the decision support package. It must be very relevant, it must be economic, and must be financial. There must be financial indicators to show how profitable the project is. So basically, if you follow this process, project development process, there are checks and balances at every stage. So you don't spend your time and energy only to find out that you have not done a profitable project. So there are clear rules to ensure efficient project governance regarding project development process. In terms of funding authority, that provides approval for expenditure, AFE, at all key decision gates, like I said. And the final investment decision is taken when everybody is satisfied that the project is profitable and is good to go. And with respect to Nigerian government, the funding is either from the government and partners, or if it's a sole risk, only from the partner. And they take the decision of to go ahead, proceed, kill, or change. And the decision makers are the key decision makers in the company, NNPC, an overview of we'll have an overview of the project, and of course with the government and partners. These are the government and partners are the key decision makers. And they have the responsibility and the mandate to decide to proceed, rework, put on hold, or kill at the decision gate, at the appropriate decision gate. So these are the decision makers. They have the authority and the mandate to decide to proceed with the project, rework, hold, and the gatekeeper is the one that ensures the process is applied correctly and all the deliverables are complete before calling for the gate decision. And of course, at every stage, you are supposed to have a peer review, quality assistance or quality assurance reviews. Sometimes you can bring an independent technical review and assurance team to assess and evaluate what you have been doing. And of course, finally, we have a project manager. The project manager is the single point accountable for the project management and project delivery. NNPC or company appointee can be the project manager. If it's a sole risk, the man providing the funds has to decide who has to appoint the project manager. For NNPC and government something, it has to be an agreement between the partners, but you must take a competent project manager to manage this because he is accountable for the delivery of the project.
Engineer, I just want to, sorry to interrupt you, to remind you of the time, maybe 10, 15 more minutes. Thank you.
Well done. I am almost there. Thank you. Well, this is the picture of the outcome of your efforts. If you have a poor project definition, like I said, front end business, you land up with this kind of something. But if you have a very good project definition, you see the value you add to your project. That's it there. But if you have a poor project definition, even if you have an excellent execution project, you can only land in a position called C here. Otherwise, if you have poor execution, you land in D. If you have excellent project definition, you either land in A, the highest something, or in B. So this is the value erosion or this is what you pay for good job at the beginning of the project by having a good initiation of the something. Okay, like I said, you cannot produce the fuel without the facilities. So this is briefly the production system that you go through. There are three parts: the reservoir itself, that's where the oil is, the well completion, and the surface facilities. And this is typically what you have. You have the reservoir here, where you have the perforations, you have the casing there, you have the tubing through which the oil is produced. It comes out to the separator. Here, the gas is taken out for sale or whatever is gas sale line. and then the oil is taken to the tank and water too, and water is disposed of, and you'll see it briefly somewhere. This one shows you. It comes out to the separator, gas is taken out, oil and water is taken here, the water is removed, and the oil is produced. I mean, it's sent for sales. And this is the typical FPSO of Shell. Basically, this is the floating production, storage, and offloading vessel. This is for Bonga. It's an example. All other major independents have their own FPSO for their offshore production. Now, I cannot talk about oil without discussing the gas. Let me say that in 2021, the Decade of Gas Initiative was launched and is focused on transforming Nigeria into gas-powered economy by 2030 through series of policy reforms, gas supply projects maturation, gas infrastructure expansion, capacity building, and robust investments. So if you want more details, I have highlighted the link in this view graph here. You will get all the details from this link. There are key components of the decade of something. Gas infrastructure is one. 2, policy reforms, regulatory framework. 3, gas for export, LNG, West African gas project. And 5, gas to power, gas to homes. And I hope it will happen one day in our lifetime when you can pipe gas to your home and you don't have to be using gas bottles and then you have gas to industries and gas sector capacity building. So that is virtually for gas. And all the gas projects, all the 20 projects identified are all in this Niger Delta area. In the link, you'll be able to see all the 20 gas projects that have been identified, which they are working on. And in line with the time management, I can now go on to my conclusions and recommendations. My recommendation one, or my conclusion and recommendation one, the Nigerian government participates in the petroleum industry through its company NNPC. NNPC is charged with doing anything required to give effect to the agreement entered into by the government in connection with activities in the petroleum industry. NNPC is the entity that negotiates and enters into various agreements with IOCs, independents, on behalf of the Nigerian government. NNPC is also charged with the responsibility to ensure steady and secure provision of all petroleum energy products, power generation, and gas-based something. But let me just highlight here for the benefit of our citizens. Now, the citizens should note that government does not own nor control 100% of produced crude oil, which under JV, the government share is only based on equity holding. Under the PSAs and PSCs, only the profit oil is shared. Cost oil is owned by the IOC or the contractor. Given all the above, my recommendation is that we should have a competent, industry-based, substantive Minister of Petroleum to be able to support NNPC, NUPRC, NMDPRA, and other provisions of the PIA, Petroleum Industry Act. For me, the President as Commander-in-Chief that is responsible for ensuring the security of the country and also managing the country's economic and social systems should not be encumbered to be Minister of Petroleum. The powers of the Minister of Petroleum specified in PIA Chapter 1, Governance and Institution, Part 2, should be exercised by a substantive Minister of Petroleum who is knowledgeable to do that job. Recommendation 2, government should engage services of experienced, competent nationals to manage the petroleum industry. Like I said, the discovery in commercial quantity was in 1956. By 2026, that will be 70 years. So we have produced enough knowledgeable people in this country out of 200 million to select those people who can manage something for us. Secondly, governance of the petroleum industry and project development should be a continuum and not dependent on leadership changes. And I'll give examples. The petroleum project development lasts multiple years, not only 4 years or 8 years as per political something. It can be multiple years. And the project should be a continuum. It should continue irrespective of who is at the helm of affairs. For example, in 2010, NNPC signed an MOU with Chinese investors to establish 3 refineries, one in Bayelsa, second one in Kogi State, and third in Lagos State. Sadly, up to 2025, none of this has happened. In October 2024, last year, the nation learned that a consortium of investors from South Korea has concluded plans to build 4 100 by 1,000 barrel capacity refineries in various parts of the country. In all honesty, my personal view, I'm not sure of the optimum timing of these projects and if Nigeria currently and ideally requires these refineries under the current reality. So it's something that we need to look at. Due processes should be standardized to ensure value for money in all projects. I have highlighted the questions that are asked at various gates. And there are many gates that you can install and you can establish to check and make sure that you are on right course in all your projects. Dangote refinery, as well as other independent refineries and petrochemicals, are welcome development that add to local value chain and must enjoy visible support from or government support in ensuring that feedstock is locally available, and national plans must guarantee this requirement. The federal government, to the best of my view, of my personal view, must endeavor to end crude oil for loan deals. This will help the country to refrain from mortgaging its future wealth through crude for loan deals and ensure availability of feedstock for the refineries. Government should address the issues of insecurity and ensure PIA compliance with host communities, funding, and LTO. Basically, license to operate, which is what approval given by the sponsor to the investors to go and run something. And all these are very clearly defined in PIA Chapter 3. Government and NNPC should ensure adequate funding of JVs to deliver their annual program. For the last few years, we haven't had any major discovery by anybody in this country. Okay, well, I'm not that I'm aware of, so let me put it that way. So, and when you make a discovery, the world is told that we have made a discovery. You don't hide that achievement. Government should provide stable and predictable investment environment that should build trust and maintain the interests of IOCs and others in the petroleum industry. Final return recommendation. The discovery of over 1 billion barrels of oil in the northern Nigeria is a welcome development. However, based on what I have presented today, its development must be streamlined and structured to follow universal project development process. But let's bear in mind, fossil fuel faces several significant challenges in a low carbon world with reduced appetite for investment in fossil energy. In recent years, there has been a growing awareness of the need to reduce dependence on fossil fuel, which has been fueled by concern about climate change, air pollution, and environmental impact of fossil fuel extraction. However, there is a need to extract our own natural resources and use the process to develop our own country before it becomes too late. We have found oil in the north. We have reserves in the south. Let's maximize the production, use the process to develop our own country. Let me also add that there may be a respite following the recent decision by the US to withdraw from the Paris Climate Agreement. So let's grab that opportunity to develop our own resources and use the proceeds to develop our country. The future of fossil fuel is at crossroads with challenges and opportunities ahead. Fossil fuel will continue to be a crucial source of raw material for the foreseeable future, providing building blocks for many everyday products. The demand for plastics and other petrochemical products is likely to remain high as they are essential for modern. Finally, I believe that the petroleum industry project that spans many years, we should be able to have a good 25-year development plan with scenarios of hydrocarbon and other energy security issues. Let's focus on this. Let's use competent people to help us look at 25-year development plan and work with that. I think that is it for me. Thank you, moderator. That is it. It's now. I can now hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think, wow, what a very enriching presentation from yourself. Thank you, Mashood. Can I just ask everyone to please, wherever you can, show appreciation to Mashood? Maybe check your Zoom reaction buttons, and or maybe come on and give a round of applause if you can. Thank you again, sir. So I think in view of time, there are many questions coming through, right? I'll probably do justice to a few of them. But let me just quickly summarize what you have told us. You've reminded us about the life cycle process. You reminded us the journey we have made, right? And the NNPC structure, which personally for me, there are a lot of things there that actually new to me as well. You went also along to let us know the development process of oil and gas. And I think the idea there is that this is quite multidisciplinary. This is not just a petroleum engineering call. This is actually many disciplines involved, the complex nature, the competence, right? And that kind of system is ready for a place like Nigeria that will have many talent and many disciplines. You went to also show us the whole journey in the value chain, right? From midstream, downstream, upstream, and how the molecules move from the subsurface to the markets. And I think that is quite enlightening. That really shows us well that that is not just work subsurface, right? It's a chain of life cycle. And I think you touched on the decade of gas by Nigerian government, which I see that as opportunity for us as Nigerians, that the government is actually doing something, focusing on gas, which is quite important for the transition. And finally, you made very far-reaching recommendations. And also I hope this foundation will find a way to kind of cascade these recommendations to the right bodies so that the government can hear this and hopefully take action. So I just want to thank you very much again, one more, sir, for having time to tell us all of this. Now I will pose a few questions to you, and I hope you are on mute. Many questions coming here. I will take a few from the chat box. And then after that, I will invite one or two people from there to also raise their hand so that we can make it more interactive. I think one I will combine two questions. One is about why is petroleum called a black gold? And I think linked to that is why is Nigeria as a country yet to get our production system right after so many years of oil discovery?
Yeah, I'm trying to, well, let me just close my view, my son, and go back to the.
Okay. Otherwise, I cannot unshare if you.
Yeah, I'm just trying to. I hope I've not shut down my system. Hold on, please. But this is. I'm trying to locate my.
Moderator, you can assist him to unshare.
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
please.
that's
Please, can you let me share with you?
Yeah.
But I can't control it because I can't even see my.
Okay, so let me just.
Let me share with you, please, moderator.
You trying to share something with me?
Yes, please, because I can't. I don't have access to my something anymore, and I don't want to start all over again.
But did you hear the questions I posed?
Yes, why is petrol called black gold?
Yeah.
And also, why has Nigeria been able not to get the position right?
Yes,
right?
yes. Maybe you can just answer those questions, sir.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let me answer by saying that if you look at crude oil, all right, crude oil, if you really realize it's like gold, all right, it's gold, black gold. It gives you enough resources to manage your life, to transform your country. All right. So I think that is why it is called a black gold. It's valued as gold. And many nations that have oil have made a lot of progress using their resources wisely. All right. So that may be the reason why it is called black. I don't have any proper explanation to define why it is called black gold. In terms of production that we have not gotten right, my immediate response is being able to follow the processes that are very well established in the oil industry. If you don't follow it, you can never get it right. All right? And you must have competent people to manage this thing for you. All right. So I think that is the reason why we have not been able to get the performance and production right in this country. So please go ahead.
Okay. Let me also just take one more question chat box. I see Ibrahim raised off his hand. Just hold on, Ibrahim. I'll come back to you. Another question from Dr. Mifta Amuda is how is operatorship question being resolved now by NNPC as there was a position taken on operatorship when they say it is not for sale, which made them appoint a third-party operator on an asset bought by marginal or indigenous investor. So how do you see the question of operatorship from NNPC standpoint?
Thank you, sir. I cannot answer the question about what NNPC wants to do or doesn't want to do. I cannot. So I have no answer about the NNPC actions and how it should be resolved. So I cannot, with all respect, I cannot respond to that. We may have to find out from NNPC management what is behind their decision.
No, that's totally okay, sir. So let me go to Ibrahim. Ibrahim, you can unmute and ask a question.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir, for the presentation. As mentioned, it's quite enlightening and comprehensive. So the work shows in the presentation itself. My question is basically about the slide about the project execution, where you basically highlighted the value chain process from identify and assess all the way to operate. Specifically, how is it measured on each phase? That's one. And number two, where is the collaboration sort of like done in practice? So how do you share the repository? How do you access it on each phase? Is it very sort of like, is there silos in between those processes? I mean, it might have changed from your experience, but you can highlight that, and that would be very helpful.
One of my view graphs, I showed, like you said, the process: identify, assess, select, define, and under the value assurance review, we have the report that is issued. Under VAR1, we issue a project initiation report, which has to be approved. Under VAR2, we publish a feasibility study report, which has to be approved to move forward. And then under phase 3, so these are the measurements you have. These are the deliverables that go along with every stage. So under the concept selection, we have the field development plan, which has to be issued to go ahead. And from the field development plan, you generate the basis for design and hand over to the project specification team to work on that. And at the end of the day, you now take everything and decide that, yes, it is time to go ahead and go and approve and give a final investment decision. So in terms of measuring this thing, at every stage, there are deliverables. Project initiation, you deliver project initiation report. Under feasibility, you deliver the feasibility report. Under concept selection, you deliver field development report. And once you've done that, you hand over to the design team to generate the design and specification of project. And it's only after that you can now have final investment decision. So I hope that has answered your question, Ibrahim.
Yes. No, that's fair. Engineer Mashood, I think like you rightly said, a lot of collaboration happening along all the value chain from different disciplines. So let me go on to the next question from the chat box. And please, if you want to raise your hand, please feel free. But I'll come back to, I think the board chair. I'll come back in a sec. There's a question from the chat box here. If Nigeria is so rich in oil and gas settlement, why are we not producing to export and grow our GDP after satisfying our domestic need?
Sorry, can you repeat it, moderation?
So if Nigeria is so richly endowed in oil and gas resources, like you rightly said, engineer, why is the country not producing to export and also grow our GDP after satisfying in-house? Is a question from Ahmed Mohammed Baba.
Okay, the answer is very simple. In 1973, Nigeria joined OPEC. And they allocated, based on your resources, they allocated allowables for you, quantum of something that you can produce. All right? I do know that some countries have gotten out of OPEC, have exited OPEC, but Nigeria is still a member of OPEC. And they have, in all honesty, we have benefited from that process all along. So you cannot just say, because I have a lot of oil like Venezuela or like Saudi Arabia, you can open up all the taps. You cannot do that, because we are all competing for the same buyers in the world. So one of the reasons is that you cannot open up all the tab. And secondly, you need to, all this must be funded. if you want to produce 2.8 million barrels of oil per day, you have to identify the resources, you have to fund it, and you have to develop it. All right? So, yeah, you can
No,
say
that's clear. Yeah.
You can say I want to produce 5 million. You have to fund it. You have to also find a market for it. Thank you.
Yeah. So I think what you're actually saying here is that we're indeed exporting, right? But we are constrained by the OPEC quota, and also we can do much more, but with the right funding. Okay, let me go on.
Right now, we produce OPEC quota.
Sorry, come again, engineer?
Right now, we don't have the capability to produce OPEC
Up to
quota.
the OPEC quota. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I thought Dr. I think Alhaji Bukar raised up his hand. I don't see the hand anymore. Abochia, please, you can unmute if you want to say something.
I wanted to just add to what the presenter said about the gates that we are going through, and to remind people that these did not grow from the beginning. They happened over time. About 40 years ago, I was running projects in the Netherlands, and I had to collect 12 signatures before I can get funding for my project. I tell you, that was why I drew my black hair turned white, because I have to take and go around. If number 10 refuses to sign and makes you change it, you have to go back to square -1 and start all over again. So the processes that our presenter described develop over time to make sure that there's a smooth way in which things will happen. And this is why we actually seem to have been missing it in Nigeria. Quite a lot of effort to get it done, but I'm very happy to see that gradually we are all getting into the same thing, into the same tunnel. There's a project funnel where you look at various options, and then you do the one you can afford to finance, and you can also then bring in the one that meets your national operations. So the call for 25 years means that we should start that production system funnel as quickly as possible to make sure that we have identified a large enough number of projects to make sure that we can meet the needs that we project that we need to have going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Bochia. That is quite insightful. Okay, please, I think we have, let's say, we're almost time, I have to say, and we still have one more closing remark coming up. I just want to stop here and really thank Engineer Mashood and everyone that have contributed to this session. I think it's really quite enriching. But I think to thank everyone properly, let me also invite the Honorable Secretary Foundation, Dr. Musa Rabiu, to give a closing remark, please. Dr. Musa.
Thank you very much, the moderator. Please can Engineer Mashood end the screen sharing?
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to.
Okay, let me just stop the sharing.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Thank you.
Okay, so this has been a very exciting session, and being the first in the year 2025, we're starting with a very important sector of the economy, which is the energy sector, particularly the upstream sector of the oil and gas, the live wire of our country. It is good that we have gone through this foundational presentation. For those of us who are not techies, it's quite enlightening, and for those who are techies, it's indeed a refreshing, experience. So we'd like to thank our guest speaker for this fantastic presentation, very detailed. I also want to seize the opportunity to update the participants that PEEF, PEEF as the board chairman has indicated, has been over the years focused on promoting human capital development in Nigeria and by extension Africa. So this year we have shared a strategic plan, a 3-year strategic plan, where we'll be focusing on key projects in the area of skills development, in particular TVET, Technical Vocational Education Training. We have an initiative now on the Almajiri school system. There is a project team with experts that are actually studying, and we're making recommendations on a pilot Almajiri school model that will be integrated with TVET. In other words, as they are learning the Quranic or Islamic education, memorizing the Quran, but also learning some hands-on skills so that they can be self-employed, with time. So this is an example of what we're trying to do within the 3-year strategic plan. We also have mentorship program with young, talented individuals. Right now, there is a group of young persons under the Digipulse Innovative Limited organization that are partnering with PEEF, and we are providing mentoring, support to the leaders of this group. And we're going to take many more during the course of the year and within the strategy period, 2025 to 2027. We had, at the beginning of this year, shared with our members the 2024 performance report, our activities in 2024 in terms of the PVT sessions, the annual conference, and other engagements that we have had with stakeholders. We also have shared with our members the strategy plan. Currently, there is an engagement with members through a survey seeking their input on what should shape the implementation of the strategy plan, but in particular, our implementation plan for 2025. So for those who have received the link to the survey, we please appeal to you to spare at least 10 minutes to complete the survey so that we can get your input. And as we move forward, we do that with your support. We also shared with our members our financial activities last year. Of course, we are also going to invite an external auditor to audit the affairs of the foundation in due course in this quarter. So these are some of the updates that I would like to share. We are going to have our next PVT, most likely focus on the agri sector. We have a speaker in mind, but that has to be confirmed. We had a speaker last year, and our speakers are hands-on experienced individuals. Somebody who actually runs a farm, an integrated farm, somewhere in the Southwest. We pleaded with him to delay his presentation to this year. So he's likely going to be the next speaker on the PVT platform. We're also looking at the livestock sector. Now that we have a federal minister on livestock development, we already have a potential speaker, a very experienced individual who can also give us a talk on the livestock development in Nigeria. So this is just a heads off on the next 2 sessions we're going to have. We always focus on critical sectors of the economy and what we need to do rather than complain to move the country forward, which is what we have received today from the presentation by Engineer Mashood Yusuf, especially the recommendations on what the government should be doing. We should have a substantive minister and not have the commander-in-chief doubling double hearting on that. So I hope I hope that will be taken on board. We do share outcomes of our PVT with the right government functionaries, so we'll do the same. So that basically it, in terms of our plan for the year. And we look forward to working with each and every one of you to make 2005 a greater achievement for PEEF and for Nigeria. But we need your support, we need your time, we need your resources. When we come to appeal, that's an area we're going to engage soon. Financial support so that we can set up our secretariat and also do some of the big things we're planning to do. So we have a plan of communication on that, which we'll be rolling out in the next few weeks. So once again, I thank the BOT chairman for always being there to provide leadership. I know he's currently in the field, but he has been able to join and provide, thoughtful steers on the industry. He's really a guru in terms of the oil and gas industry in Nigeria. I also thank our moderator all the way from Houston, sparing time to be part of this. I told him that we all have to give back to the society. No matter wherever we may be, we have to create time to say, well, let me share from my experience, let me share from my knowledge, or even a financial resource and make Nigeria better. So thank you very much, India Ismail Usman, for moderating this session. Thank you so much. And our guest speaker, I think your session, you need more than the time you have been given, but I think you have been able to squeeze everything in. It's quite detailed. Thank you so much for all the efforts. I know you worked at this for a couple of several weeks, so thank you so much for your dedication and passion to make Nigeria a better place. Our participants from all over, we appreciate you. We had over 110 registrants for this PVT. However, perhaps due to technology, we couldn't record as high as we expect, but we'll make sure the slide plaque will be shared through email with all those who have registered for this session. So you will get a copy via email in the next 48 hours, God willing. I also want to thank the support, the IT support, those who are behind, making sure that our technology is well facilitated. Thank you so much. And on this note, I would like to bring the PVT session to a close.